Good evening, folks. Welcome to this edition of Curveball Convos with you boys. We do not have a full barn tonight. Braxton is not with us, but two of the boys are here, Colby and Reed. Boys, how are you? We had a massive regional weekend this past week, action packed, loads of upsets. It was not very chalky this year, as we kind of predicted, because as you going in, you kind of didn't say like, "Oh my gosh, this team is better than others." So the number one seed fell, and man, boys, was it fun. Colby, start with you. How was your weekend, man, and how was it?
Yeah, it was good. Good to watch ball. Number one and number two seeds, both going down. And what did we have on Monday? Six game sevens or five or six? Was it Reed? I
Six.
think it was
Six,
six.
yeah.
Yeah, good weekend. Looking forward to starting tomorrow. We got four starting tomorrow and four Saturday, so looking forward to it.
Reed, how was your weekend, sir?
It was good. Yeah, like you said, not a lot of chalk this year. I think this was one of the best regional weekends we've seen in quite some time. So yeah, I'm really excited for tomorrow.
Yeah, boys. Let's kind of start off with the regional recap. Reed, we'll start off with you. We'll go one all the way down to 16. Vanderbilt gets upset in a shocking upset as they are the number one national seed. Reed, what went down in Nashville this weekend, man?
Well, they just couldn't hit all weekend. First time in history, the number one overall seed did not get to at least the regional final. That was quite shocking. Obviously, they probably should have lost Friday night too to Wright State. I think Wright State kind of got hosed there Friday night with that terrible call from the ump. But an SEC team out, I don't think that hurts any of our feelings. But shout out Louisville. They pitched the ball really well all weekend, only allowing 4 earned runs the entire weekend. So yeah, they'll be hosting Miami this weekend. Should be an exciting matchup.
In the Nashville regional, we had a clean sweep of picking Vandy, so that means they were doomed to win. So very unfortunate. Colby, the number two seed, what in the world happened there, man?
Yeah, that was Texas, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to
Drawing a
look.
blank.
Me too.
Yeah, UTSA, they're just top to bottom the better team. The whole weekend, they took it to Texas twice. Impressive from a team out of the American Conference, which we'll talk more about an American Conference team later. But yeah, UTSA looked like the most dominant team in that regional. Clean sweep and heading to UCLA this weekend.
Reed, would it be Reed? How crazy would it be if UTSA makes it to Omaha before ECU?
Pretty crazy, but I mean, look at the year UTSA's had. They've been dominant. They dominated that league all season. They had a great non-conference. They beat Texas earlier in the season too at Texas, so they went 3-0 against them this year. They can really hit the ball. So it wouldn't shock me, but you know, considering ECU's run they've had over the past couple of years, I don't think I would have ever guessed another American team would get to Omaha before them.
Yeah. And down there in Fayetteville, the three seed, they win that regional kind of easy, and they will then face off versus Tennessee SEC matchup. Reed, what are you looking forward to in that one?
Yeah, World War III. Both those fan bases have been at each other's throats all weekend. Should be a really fun atmosphere down there. But I'm really looking forward to Zach Root versus Liam Doyle on Saturday for Game One. That should be absolutely electric. Tennessee got forced all the way to Monday this week. Liam Doyle came in for the save and was sensational, like he's been all year. I mean, he's going to be a top 5 pick. But the crowd down at Arkansas, probably arguably the hardest place to play in the country, should be really exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tennessee hasn't won a road series at Arkansas since 2001.
Yeah,
So
I mean, if they don't win, I think their best chance to win that series, if they can get Doyle to get him to win in Game One, I think will bode well for them if they won. I think if they lose Saturday, then their chances are probably slim.
110%. And Colby down there in Auburn will go down there. The Pack went down there to Auburn, had a tough weekend, tough opening game versus Stetson, but all in all, not a horrible season for the Pack. Your thoughts on what happened in Auburn?
Yeah, digging yourself a whole 7-0 in the first inning of the first game. It's going to be tough to come back and win the regional. Obviously, losing the first game, I think if you go start 0-1 in a regional, I think only 7% of teams end up coming back and winning that regional. And majority of those are the host team that start 0-1 of that statistic. So it was a good fight beating Central Connecticut State, who wasn't any good, and getting Stetson back. But by the time they reach Auburn in the regional final, there's no chance they're going to beat them twice. State had no pitching at a gas. Overall, solid season, but the last month of the season was a pretty disappointing finish.
Yeah, me and Reed were sitting there watching the first game, NC State Stetson, at a local bar down there in Conway, and we're watching that first inning like, what in the world is going on? We could not believe what is going on. We were like, this is not real. But unfortunate inning for the Pack. Auburn Coastal. Go ahead, Reed.
I mean, Fritton just didn't have his stuff this weekend. I mean, obviously, I don't think he even made it out of the first inning, Colby.
Yeah, he didn't, and then he started the regional final and actually threw 3 pretty good innings, and in that fourth, I think he ran out of gas again after throwing just a few days before. It was a valiant effort his second time for sure, coming back on that short of rest, but I just wasn't enough.
Yeah, no question about it. And Reed will go not far down the road in Chapel Hill. Reed, what went down in Chapel Hill Regional?
Gavin Gallagher. That's about all I need to say. I mean, he was sensational at the plate. Obviously, we know he started the season really ice cold, but just the second half of the season, he's been nothing short of amazing. But, this past weekend, I think he went 13 for 18, 3 homers, 3 doubles, 10 RBIs. Willed that offense all weekend with Luke Stevenson really struggling at the plate. But,
I think we might have lost him.
Tobin, did we lose you?
But Jake Knapp, he was great as usual on Friday. 8 1/3 innings. I think he threw 120 pitches. DeCaro was really good Saturday. Aiden Hogg was solid. Then they brought in Folger Boas that Sunday game. Kind of got roughed up. A lot of Carolina fans were questioning Forbes' decision, why they didn't bring in Ryan Lynch and Walker McDuffie. But, obviously it paid a huge dividend on Monday when he started Lynch and then went to McDuffie and they blitzed Oklahoma, who I think was just out of juice.
Yeah, and looking forward to that regional, no question about it. The next one is Athens, right? They were 7?
LSU 6.
Yeah, LSU 6. We're not 7 yet. Yeah, Reed and Colby, Little Rock pushed LSU there towards the end.
Yeah, it was fun watching that Little Rock story. I think they finished like 8 or 10 games under 500 in the regular season. They won their conference tournament and given little to no chance by everybody to even compete in the LSU regional, and they took it all the way to Game 7, and it was close. They got it to an early lead in the Game 7, and a little bit of umpire discrepancy.
Got hosed there in the 8th inning.
Yeah. Bases loaded, first and second, one out, clear 3-2 pitch that was clearly inside, and ump called it strike 3. So, it was a great run for Little Rock. Obviously, LSU now advancing to host West Virginia, which will be a very interesting super.
Reed, do you have any comments on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, all those LSU fans were nervous as hell right there on Monday night when they went down 5-1. Took Ethan Fry pretty much to will him. I think he was 5 for 5 that game. Hernandez hit 2 homers. But, yeah, nevertheless, LSU advances to another super regional. It should be a really fun series against West Virginia that we'll discuss here more in a little bit.
Yeah, that is a shocking one for sure. And down the road in Athens, Duke picks up a nice upset down there in Athens. I know that most of us picked Georgia. Matt and James were the only ones to pick Duke. Colby, did this come as a surprise to you, or is this the Duke team we have been waiting to see all season?
A little bit of a surprise, but looking back on it, I don't think it should have caught me by surprise. Duke finished the season really well. Had a quick exit in the ACC tournament before heading down to Athens, so I picked Georgia. But interesting comments by Pollard at his press conference either yesterday or the day before, saying it actually helped them to get bounced early in the ACC tournament, so they could have a full scrimmage and practice day before they headed down to Georgia, and he was saying how much that helped them. But Duke was dominant all weekend, 3-0, beating Georgia that second game, which it was kind of like hanging on for dear life in the 1-0 game against them as Georgia kept trying to come back. But Duke just kept getting out of big jam after big jam. To end that game, their bullpen really held it down, and then a late comeback win in the regional final against Oklahoma State. Exciting times. Duke hosting a super regional, which is incredible at Jack Coombs. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, no hate to Jack Coombs, but I was there this year. That place cannot host the Super Regional. I'm just going to be straight up blunt with it. I was there this year. I went to go use the bathroom. I looked to my left, and there are two Duke players in line with me to use the bathroom. So, I mean, this is a super regional environment. I mean, it's not a big place. I don't understand how they're going to have
They're
tickets.
putting bleachers in left and right field.
I mean, they need something. I mean, I'm not trying to dog the place, but there's just no way that you put a bid in and that bid accepts. I don't know about Murray State's field, but I mean, it can't be worse than Jack Coombs. Just going to be straight up with you. If you've been there, you know. Guess the Durham Bulls have a home series. I mean, they not want to play there.
They don't. I don't think. I think it came out that they're not allowed to host there.
Interesting.
Because a couple of years ago, remember Duke should have hosted, and I don't know. They and say I don't think was going to let them play at the Bulls.
Yeah, well, it sure is interesting that they're hosting at Jack Coombs. Going into
Kason, when you went earlier they didn't even. You said they didn't even sell beer, right?
they did not sell alcohol there, so good
You
thing.
think that'll change this weekend?
I mean, I don't know much about Murray State. All I know is about John Morant. It's the most to know about Murray State. So I don't know if there are a bunch of drinkers down there in Kentucky, but I know Duke fans don't have a problem with it. So I'm very curious. And I heard through the grapevine someone might be going. Is that true?
Yeah, we'll see how Saturday's games go if Carolina finishes up on Saturday. I think me and Money are going to try to make the trip over there on Sunday.
Okay. Well, have fun. Get an ice cream cone. They have really good ice cream cones there at the Jack Coombs there. Just be sure to hopefully it doesn't rain. Last time I was there, it rained. So hopefully.
Yeah, the weather's a bit iffy this weekend.
Yeah, I was looking at that earlier today. Now on to Corvallis, correct?
Yep.
Yep. James Malice, the lone person to pick the Beavers. Oregon State wins. I think we all picked TCU to win. TCU to win, we did. And didn't they drop the first game? If I am not mistaken.
Yeah, they went 2-out.
Yeah, they went 2-out.
Crushed both games.
Yep. Unfortunate for the Horned Frogs and very fortunate for Vegas because I know they had very high odds to win that. But Reed, what went down in Corvallis this weekend?
Well, yeah, obviously Oregon State lost their first game as well to St. Mary's, but after that, a light switched and they just absolutely blitzed the field. Avi Arquette, it's been sensational all year. He had another big weekend. He'll be a top 5 pick, replacing Travis Bassana. Trent Caraway, he started the season really strong for them. Had a really bad cold stretch right there, the middle to the end of the season, but he had a huge regional coming out. They had him batting 9th coming into the series, but finished the weekend batting 5th. None of those games after they lost to St. Mary's was close. So I'm really excited to watch them in Florida State this weekend. I think it should be a really awesome matchup.
I agree to that one for sure. Next, we go down to Oxford, correct?
Florida State.
Tallahassee. Yeah.
Okay, Tallahassee. Who did we pick here? Colby picked Northeastern. James picked Northeastern. The rest of us picked Florida State. Colby, let us know what happened down there in Tallahassee.
Yeah, start off with Northeastern. I was kind of disappointed in their showing in the regional. What did they win 28 in a row going into the regional 29, something crazy. And it wasn't I thought they were a team that's super hot and could go in there and take the regional, but they didn't look particularly good. Their offense a little stagnant. I mean, lost the first game to Mississippi State, who looked pretty good in the regional too, but then needed a late homer to just get by Bethune-Cookman and lost to Mississippi State again. So bit disappointed about Northeastern. Florida State looked really good though. Arnold and the rest of that staff, it's going to make for a good super regional in Corvallis this weekend.
I will say on Northeastern's part, they are a great team, but they're not taking nothing away from them. But I mean, going from the CAA to Mississippi State and Florida State is a big difference in my opinion in terms of hitting. I mean, you do have. I mean, the CAA I can probably say it was down this year. I mean, Wilmington wasn't what they were. Campbell hasn't been what they were in a couple of years. Charleston was good. Just kind of run down that list and just I think that might have caught up to him. Reed, do you agree with me on that one?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, playing at SEC and ACC teams is going to be a major upgrade compared to what they face. I mean, they had the number one ERA staff in the country heading into the regionals, but Mississippi State will let them up Friday night. But still an awesome year for Northeastern. They've been a really good program over the past couple years. Usually, seems like we've been seeing their name in the tournament these past few years.
Yeah, going to be looking forward to see what Florida State does for sure. Now to Oxford, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And funny, I'm looking at our pick'em. None of us picked Ole Miss to win, and we still lost this one. As I think everyone in the country lost this one. As Murray State comes out of here, absolutely unbelievable read. Braxton
Yeah.
picked West Kentucky. The rest of us picked Georgia Tech. So very shocking there.
Yeah, I think this was the most exciting regional all weekend. Just fireworks in every single game. Obviously, start Friday night. Ole Miss losing to Murray State, and then Georgia Tech winning. I thought it was really setting up well. I picked Georgia Tech. I thought it was. I mean, they had it there for the taking, and then lost to Murray State in another high-scoring game. Ole Miss held off Western Kentucky, and then obviously, Ole Miss beat Murray State pretty bad that next game, but. Murray State's offense this weekend. I mean, my gosh. I mean, every time I looked up, I thought, it was just double, single, homer, double. This weekend they had 12 hits, 14 hits, 14 hits, and 19 hits in their 4 games. That Monday game was something special. They were up 12-3, and I for sure texted the chat. I thought they were going to blow it there. They just could not throw a strike to let Ole Miss get back into the game. But, shout out to them. They were able to hang on. What a story. I think they're America's team right now. I think everyone's rooting for them this weekend. But, that offense was awesome to watch.
And they are in the Missouri Valley, correct?
Yeah. Shout out the Missouri Valley.
3 straight years, team in Super Regional.
Yep. Evansville last year, Indiana State the year before.
Just honestly, pretty remarkable what that conference gets done. Very, very proud of that program. Really looking forward to seeing what they do. Now down to Clemson, correct?
Yep.
Wish Braxton here to talk about Upstate. Upstate, in my opinion, had a solid showing. They hung with everyone they played in the regional. Crazy. What game was it where West Virginia walked it off, Reed? I know we were watching it together. I don't know which game that was.
I think the first game against Kentucky.
Yeah, that was a crazy game.
They obviously rallied.
Yeah.
In the regional title, they were down big in the 8th inning and came back.
And Colby, on Clemson, I know that every year they have a good regular season, solid season, then in just the postseason, they just absolutely just collapse and just what's going on down there. And I saw some on some message boards they want Bakich gone, which I think is ridiculous, but Clemson fans really crashing out. And considering, which I thought was funny, I saw a lot of memes about their stuff with the Savannah Bananas before the season. I saw a whole bunch of memes was laughing about that. But Colby, panic button down in Clemson because it seems to happen every single year.
Yeah, maybe. I think firing Bakich is excessive.
Me
That
too,
doesn't
100%.
seem like the smart idea. Yeah, it's just been too long since we had Clemson and Omaha. It seems like Clemson's usually a host, and last year they even hosted the Super against Florida, and they just had some. And Tennessee the year before that in the regional, they just been having a lot of heartbreaking regional hosting and Super regional hosts as well. It's been tough. I wouldn't hit the panic button. I think Bakich has done a phenomenal job. He's got him in the right direction going forward. But yeah, it'd be nice to see Clemson back in Omaha where they belong. You know, they're such a great program. Definitely disappointing way to go out this weekend.
Yeah, and I will say that in the past years, you talk about Tennessee, then Florida. Those aren't the best draws, but I think when they got their regional this year, I mean, somehow they were above Coastal Carolina, who somehow beat them, and they got a better draw than Coastal for sure. In my personal opinion, with West Virginia and Kentucky and Upstate, I think that was not saying it's the easiest regional, but I think that's definitely a favorable draw than what they could have got for sure, considering their location in South Carolina in that kind of central of the South. And they just really didn't perform, Reed, and just kind of just the same story. But props to Upstate, want to give them their flowers. They did hang in every game they played. Heck of a season from the Upstate boys out of the Big South. Braxton said it before the year. This is Upstate's year, and hey, Reed, it sure was Upstate's year out of the Big South.
Yeah, I mean, they had a sensational season. I think more to come with that program. You know, they were really competitive in both games, like you said. That home run they hit on Friday night off their closer to tie the game was awesome. But, you know, Clemson, you know, and it's just something about postseason play that I don't know. Like, I thought this would be the year. I thought this was a very favorable draw, like y'all were saying. You know, they were up in the 8th inning against West Virginia, was unable to get the job done, and then they just collapsed the next day against Kentucky and got the brakes beaten off them. Yeah, I think Clemson will be back. They'll return a lot from this team. Obviously, Canarella's most likely going to be gone. You know, I think they're just going to continue to knock at the door. They're going to get over the hump here in the next year or 2 years or whatever it's going to be.
Is Kanak draft eligible?
No, he's a sophomore, I think.
I know he's sophomore, but I didn't know if he was age. I didn't know if he's age.
I don't think so. I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, age is a separate thing than just sophomore, so I'll have to look into that, but I'm not totally
I haven't seen anything about him being draft eligible.
Yeah, and I think we would have heard buzz about that, honestly, if he was gone. So, because I know that ECU has some guys that are draft eligible as sophomores. So that's why I'm asking. And I know that's a thing on the country. I know he's a sophomore, but
obviously Stevenson is draft eligible. He's a sophomore.
Yes. Kobe, you found anything, bud?
Yeah, it looks like he's got one more year.
Okay. Well, he'll be a preseason. He'll be a probably first team preseason all American next year. No question about it.
Yeah.
All right. As we go across the country down there to Eugene, some crazy stuff happening down there in Eugene. Ejections, malicious intent at the plate. Absolutely absurd. Reed, me and you and Stephen Igo, shout out to Stephen Igo, Hoist the Colors. We're watching it together and just in absolute awe of what was going on down there in Oregon. But that was a heck of a regional. And Arizona comes out of there. I picked Cal Poly to win. The rest of y'all picked Oregon except Reed. You're the lone one to pick the Wildcats. Tobin, what did you see in the
you know, I thought they would just carry on their run from the Big 12. Usually if you win the Big 12 tournament, you're going to win your regional. Kansas State last year. I believe Oklahoma State the year before that. But their offense was sensational all weekend. I think they hit 14 home runs in their 3 games this weekend. which is ridiculous. So, it's going to be a really fun series against Carolina starting tomorrow.
Colby, you were watching the game right when the militia's at 10th and when the
Yeah.
that was absolutely unbelievable. Colby, you know more of the specs of baseball than me. You played a lot more than me. What is your thoughts on that? Because that kind of changed it really was a game-changing play and also, regional altering play because he was suspended the next game.
Oh, yeah. And if Oregon scores that run, they have a good chance of winning that game and starting off 1-0 instead of 0-1. But, yeah, it was a regional altering play, like you said. My thoughts, I can see how it could be viewed as militia intent. It seemed like the catcher was blocking home plate, though. The runner really had no path to get the home, and he was doing everything he could to get the home. And I don't think it was that malicious that it warranted automatic out and ejection. So I think there's definitely a sour taste in your mouth if you're an Oregon fan. I don't think you feel like you got the fair side of the draw of that call. Yeah, it's just tough, especially like in front of your home fans making that call. It's tough. It was also the longest review ever. I think it took like 12 minutes. I mean, I was just like, are they ever going to make a call? It's terrible.
But seeing it in real time, like that bang bang, was a lot worse than seeing it in slow motion because it happened just so quick. But just the regional altering play. Reed, you have something?
No, I mean, I get both sides. I think he could have gotten down a lot earlier. I do agree. I thought the catcher was blocking home plate. Do I agree? With the ejection? No, certainly I don't agree with a suspension for the next game. I think that's ridiculous. But nevertheless, pretty disappointing weekend for Oregon after the season they've had.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Gracia's ejection and suspension for game 1 of the Super.
We'll touch on that when we
get
to the Super matchups.
All right, Reed, let's go down to Conway. Me and you were down there in Conway for the coastal East Carolina region with Florida, as well as Fairfield. Reed, we had a good old time down there with Steven Igo. Shout out Steven. He was with the boys all weekend, as well as Matt and James. It was a good weekend. Reed, we'll start off with the first game versus Florida. Ethan Norby, masterclass. I mean, absolutely unreal. I think going into this game, I did not think ECU was going to win. I don't think many people did around the country. I think when everyone saw this matchup, they're like, "Oh, Florida's got a cakewalk to a super regional." But hey, Reed, the boys proved us wrong, and ECU with a whole bunch of freshmen hit Liam Peterson pretty hard on Friday.
Yeah, that offense was on fire. I knew Norby would keep the game competitive. Was I expecting how we beat him for that result? No, but it was awesome to watch. Great atmosphere down in Conway all weekend. The ECU bats all weekend were sensational, minus Sunday night, which we'll touch on more here, Jason.
Yeah, and then Coastal plays their first game starts at 10:36 p.m. Me and Reed were after the Florida game. We went to a great local spot, Coastal Ale House. Shout out Coastal Ale House. They hosted us twice. Very, very nice spot. We were sitting there waiting for the game to start, and all of a sudden, Hurricane Katrina happens, blows the door open of the ale house, rain coming in, feel the wind shaking, and me and Reed are saying there's no way Coastal is going to play this game. No shot. Coastal plays this at all. And then we're back at my place, and Steven goes, they're starting at 10:30. We said, what? So we watched a little bit of it, but we were also so tired, and Coastal wins that game. And then the next morning, Florida defeats Fairfield, and then ECU plays Coastal Carolina, and former ECU Pirate Colby Thorndike goes absolutely nuclear and goes crazy and defeats ECU and Reed for the first 6 innings of that game. That was one of the best baseball games I've ever seen in my entire life. And then it just went sour real quick.
Yeah, I mean, those first 6 innings, it was just teams were just trading blow after blow to each other. The score doesn't – I don't think the score represents how close that game was. Obviously, the ECU pitching just fell apart there those last 3 innings. But, yeah, Colby Thorndike, monster game, 2 homers, including the grand slam That crowd was rocking on Saturday night.
Colby, what was your kind of thoughts analysis from afar of this series of this regional?
Yeah, that Saturday night game was incredible. It was like back and forth, and then it seemed like Coastal would get a 1-run lead. It's like, okay, they'll probably take full control of this game, and then ECU would come right back. It was awesome to watch, and then obviously, like you said, Coastal poured it on there late. It was an incredible game up until 7th or 8th inning, but awesome to watch. And then the whole Madness Sunday morning was interesting to hear about in the aftermath. And then Sunday night game was good too. Just good pitching, both sides, 1-0 game. Unfortunate ending for ECU, but if I was an ECU fan, I'd be very encouraged. I mean, this team was 4 or 5 games below 500 in America, and then win the conference tournament, and then go into Conway Regional and hold your own, go 2-0 against Florida, and then compete with Coastal both games with a really young team. So I'd be very encouraged.
And I will say before we get into that, I do want to touch on Sunday morning. Michael O'Sullivan, I'll just say it. He is a horrible person.
Kevin.
Sorry. Yeah, he doesn't even deserve me to say his name correctly.
True.
Kevin O'Sullivan, he's just a horrible person. We went and got bagels Sunday morning, went to a local bagel dock. Very nice spot. And Ron Stevens on Twitter, and Brian Bailey, shout out Brian Bailey of WCT in Greenville. He tweets that Kevin O'Sullivan goes absolutely crazy in the morning about his game getting pushed back, saying, what in the world? It starts to grow a little bit. And Stephen Igo texts me that a staff member has contacted him and told him what he said to Parker Bird. That is now public, about how Parker Bird needs to shove that whiteboard up his ASS, which is unreal. And then he was crying about his game getting pushed back. And I think that really just cemented it, because Reed, let's be real, going into the game, me, you, and Steven both said Florida's about to beat ECU by 10 plus runs. I said we were going
to win.
Well, but because I didn't think we had enough pitching left. Lance Williams to an absolute gem, and then I hear that O'Sullivan was walking around telling Parker Bird to shove things up his tail, and that kind of was like, okay, come out with a message, and they come out just absolutely clobber Florida once again, and O'Sullivan gets what he deserves. And then that night, Reed, me and you watched an absolute masterclass from Bradley Zayak. Unreal performance, because I watched him pitch versus Elon, and he was getting hit off Elon pretty hard. Then he goes into Coastal on a regional final and pitches shutout. Just absolutely amazing. Just what can you say about Bradley Zayak in that game?
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked. I said if we got 3 innings from him, that'd be good. I think you said one would be good.
Yep.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, he pitched one hell of a game. Riley Eckhoff on Coastal was just as good. Coastal was able just to get that 1 run right there on that sac fly, and then in the 8th, and then obviously they brought in their closer Dominic Carbone, and I mean he has got some filthy stuff. I mean, high fastball 96, 97, that slider he throws. I mean, just ridiculous. And Coastal's on to the Supers.
Yes, sir. And we will get into the big picture soon. We will get into the big picture of a lot of these teams, especially how the portal's blown up. We will do an end-of-season show to kind of recap the season and talk about the portal, because by the time the portal will have by then, 5,000 more players in it, Colby, don't you think?
Probably. I mean, State's already probably had close to double-digit players in there, but we'll save that for another day to talk about.
I know State has double digits. ECU has double digits.
Virginia's got their whole roster pretty much.
That makes sense.
I mean, yeah, and I know that some of these small teams you only know because not really reported as much. But I bet some of these small teams like that are very good, like good Big South teams. I bet they're just getting scraped because
Western Kentucky is, from what I've been seeing.
Yes, because as Cliff Godwin tweeted today, there are teams farming other small schools. I know from my personal knowledge and sources that ECU's roster has been getting picked apart by the SEC. Not going to name names until Cliff Godwin names them out. Hopefully goes on Steven's show soon and calling people out, but it's just unreal, and it's even happening Power 4 against Power 4. It's just absolutely ridiculous, but we will save that to the end. We will move on to the next regional to talk about. Reed, it is Knoxville, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wake. Well, I guess we'll talk a little bit here about Wake. Obviously, they laid an egg on Friday against Cincinnati, but they were able to fight back through the losers bracket, even taking down Tennessee on Sunday night. Was able to take it to Monday. All year their pitching has just let them down, and they kind of just ran out of arms there. Their offense has been great all year, but finally for a year, Wake didn't have a dominant pitcher. Obviously, the past year, Chase Burns, Rhett Lauder, the pitching just, like I've said, just cost him a lot this year.
That is correct. And Los Angeles now, correct?
Yep.
The only group of people that got this right, our followers picked UCLA to win this regional, as we all picked UC Irvine. So that's how you knew we were doomed. UCLA, I don't think many people had them winning this regional. I know they were not the favorite, if I'm not mistaken. If they were, it was very slim. But Colby, UCLA moves on to now play UTSA. So the battle of U and A teams, 4-syllable words. Colby, good for UCLA.
Yeah, they're dominant. After watching their game against Nebraska in the conference championship, I was a little down on them, so I picked Irvine. But yeah, they're good. There's a little bit of discrepancy between me and Reed with the field of 64, whether they'd be a host or not. I had them probably as a host. Reed didn't. Wanted to get a one-up on you there.
I didn't think they'd be hosts with their lack of quad one wins, but I knew if I picked Irvine, they'd win the series. They were dominant all weekend. John Savage trying to get them back to Omaha for the first time since they won the national title in 2013.
Yeah, UCLA just dominant the whole weekend, sweeping, and now they're hosting a super too, which wasn't expected as the 15 national seed.
It's pretty insane. Now to go to the 16 national seed, the Hattiesburg, the Muffin Regional. Very unfortunate for Southern Miss. None of us picked Miami to win. I don't think anyone in the country picked Miami to win this regional. Reed, I'll let you kick this one off.
No, I looked the way Miami was playing headed in. Some people doubt if they should have even been in the tournament, but they seized the opportunity. That was a great opening day win against Alabama. And then, obviously they got a gift to play Columbia the next day. But, they were able to hang on. Derek Williams is back into the lineup. He had a clutch homer on Monday night in that game against Southern Miss, and they were able to hold off. Walters came in, shut the door down. I know he gave up that 2-run homer, but he made some clutch pitches down the stretch as they were able to hang on.
Cole, would you have any comments on the Hattiesburg Regional?
Yeah, I'm impressed with Miami. They kind of, after they swept state, they kind of faltered down the stretch the last 2 weeks in the AC tournament. They got swept at Virginia, who didn't make the tournament. Then they lost 2 out of 3 to Notre Dame, who didn't make the tournament. And then they lost to they lose to Cal in the AC tournament.
Oh, yeah.
Or yeah. No.
Was it Cal?
I can't remember.
It was Cal.
I think it was. So there's a discussion of if they're even going to be in the field. They got in, and then they played really good ball. I mean, they got a good luck of the draw. They had to win that first game against Bama, who was a tough team out of the SEC, but getting to play Columbia in the 1-0 game certainly helped, and held off Southern Miss in Game 7. That 2-run homer in the ninth kind of felt like, I don't know, with 2 outs in the ninth and it feel that significant. It still felt like Miami still had it in the bag. Yeah, impressive. It's now an all ACC matchup in the Super at Louisville.
Yeah, all ACC is kind of crazy in my opinion. Reed, we'll go down now, kind of wrap this up with the Super Regional previews. Reed, what regional are you looking forward to the most? And do not say Chapel Hill.
Oh, well, it's not that one, so you don't have to worry. I think it's Florida State and Oregon State. Obviously, I think Florida State had a case to be a top eight. I think this is the best regional. Two really good teams going at it. Obviously, you look at Florida State's pitching staff. It's been sensational all year with Arnold, Mendez, Fellini. And then obviously you look at the way Miles Bailey has been swinging the bat. Ladis really didn't hit the ball that well this past weekend, so he's going to be due up at Oregon State. But then you look at Oregon State side, Avi Arquette. Like I said, he's probably going to be a top 5 pick, replacing Travis Pisano, who was the number 1 overall pick last year. Dax Whitney, Ethan Kleinschmidt had great outings on the mound for Oregon State this past weekend as they were able to get through the losers bracket. I mean, it should be a great atmosphere up in Corvallis. We all know how they love their baseball up there. I like Florida State. I think this will go to 3. I think they have a little more pitching depth than Oregon State, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Kobe, what super regional has your eye?
It's a little outside the box, but UTSA and UCLA. I really like that one. UTSA going down in Austin and just dominating the regional. And UCLA, a lot of discrepancy if they will be a host or not across the field of 64s around the country. And they dominated a team that I think a lot of people thought UC Irvine would probably come out of that regional, us included. Both just dominant. And UTSA, I think, has a real shot to make it to Omaha.
That would be absolutely insane. They made Omaha. And honestly, rooting for them. It would be good for the sport if UTSA makes it to Omaha. The regional I would have my eye on is Coastal Carolina and Auburn. I got to see Coastal in person twice this year. I think this is a very good team. As we've said all year, they've always been able to mash, and now they can pitch. And I think with Fluky, Morrison, and Eckhoff, they have an outstanding 1-2-3. It's going to be very hard to beat them in a 3-game series. But down there in Auburn, they have loads of talent. And I think that ECU
Irish. Ike Irish.
Correct.
Cooper McMurray. It's going to be an awesome series.
That atmosphere is going to be incredible. Auburn fans would bring it, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Coastal fans that make their way down there. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, Tilly on Auburn I would say he got pretty roughed up against the first 2 innings were probably the worst 2 innings they played all weekend against Central Connecticut. But obviously Carson Myers came in and shut that door down. I think he had 9 strikeouts to close that game out. But yeah, I'm curious to see Ike Irish, one of the best players in the country, up against that Coastal pitching staff.
Yeah, and I think now's the time to break out the Gracia conversation. I'll let you guys lead the way on what happened with Gracia and Pollard and what his comments were.
Yeah, I'll start. Duke was down 2-0 in the 8th, I believe, of the regional final, and Gracia hit a solo home run to cut it to 2-1. And teams all around the country have props for the dugout after someone hits a home run. I think Duke's is a construction helmet, like hard hat with Duke logo on and everything. And Duke ended up taking the lead later that inning, and Gracia still had the prop, the construction helmet, in his hand, and walked off. It wasn't obnoxious or anything. He just walked on the field to greet his teammates that just scored the 2 go-ahead runs in the 8th inning, about to clinch a super regional spot. And the umpire ejected him, and now he's suspended for game 1. I think Duke's appealing it. I saw Pollard got asked about it today, but couldn't catch the answer. I saw the tweet at work, so I couldn't listen in. But interested to see what the appeal will be, and see if we can get him eligible for game 1, because it'd honestly be a travesty that if Gracia can't be in the lineup for game 1.
Yeah, welcome to the ump show. That's my recap of the weekend as well.
Yeah.
Welcome to the ump show. This happened summer with ECU a few years ago when Jacob Starling ate a peanut butter jelly sandwich as a home run celebration, and the umpire ejected him because he ate a peanut butter jelly sandwich walking into the dugout. So This has happened around the country, but then if you go around the country, each team has a prop. I know NC State do they sort of do the hockey puck with the
Yeah.
hockey helmet?
Yeah.
Oregon does the football helmet. I watched that this weekend. Upstate does the Spartan helmet. I mean, you just go down the list. Each program has props, but just absolutely stupid. What's going on, Reed?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly ridiculous. Like you said, the ump show. I mean, just grant him to let him play. I mean, my God. I mean, he did nothing to harm anyone. Just celebrating with his teammates. But another point I want to touch on with Duke though is Ben Miller going to be healthy? He didn't play on Sunday night against Oklahoma State after taking fastball. Where did he get hit? Was it the wrist, Colby?
Yeah, near the wrist area.
So I mean, that's certainly something we need to keep our eye on. I haven't seen anything yet this week regarding if he's going to play. Certainly, it's a huge loss if they don't have him this weekend.
Yeah, boys. All right. Any other last things before we close out, Reed?
I mean, do you want to talk about the other games for the Supers?
Do you just want to go quick picks?
Yeah.
All right. Miami, Louisville. Who you guys got?
Louisville.
Reed?
Yeah, I like Louisville. I think they can carry on at home. I think this will go to 3 games. I think they can carry on their great pitching from this past weekend. Matt Klein back in the lineup. He missed significant time due to injury. He had 2 homers this weekend. And I think that Louisville crowd will be pumped up to host a Super. It feels like it's been a minute since Louisville's been in Omaha. This is Miami's first Super since 2016, which is hard to believe.
Yeah, I'm picking Louisville. Just all year they've been able to hit, and then last weekend, their problem all year has been their pitching, and their pitching staff had a .18 ERA in Nashville. So if they keep that up, they're going to be a tough team to beat, not only in the Super Regional, but if they make it to Omaha too, watch out. Florida State, Oregon State. Reed, you touched on it. You're picking Seminoles.
Yeah, I like Florida State. I think they have just a little bit more depth on the mound, but this will go to 3. I mean, it's going to be a great series.
What you got, Kason?
I got Florida State. Just like Reed said, great series, but I think Florida State's pitching. Jamie Arnold to me is a guaranteed win for me for Florida State, so I think Florida State finds a way.
Yeah, I'll be different. I picked Oregon State. I just think it's tough to win a series in Corvallis on their home field. It's going to be tough to win up there. All right, Arizona and the Heels. Reed, who you got?
We got Carolina. I think Arizona can push them. It's going to be tough to beat Knapp and DeCaro. They've won 8 in a row. Arizona, my touch, they hit 14 homers this past weekend. I don't think this will be as easy as a lot of Carolina fans think it's going to be. I think Arizona could push it to 3 games.
I got the Heels in this one. I will say, though, I think the Heels pitching is too much, but the Heels will need Luke Stevenson to step up big time. He had an awful weekend this past weekend. And, I mean, Gavin Gallagher's probably going to be on another tear, but Stevenson in the Super for sure.
Yeah, I also picked the Heels. I think they'll handle Arizona. I think this is only going 2 games. I think UNC's toughest test this to get to Omaha was on Monday in that Game 7, and it wasn't even tough for them. They got through them, and I think UNC will carry that momentum into a 2-game sweep this weekend. All right, Coastal and Auburn.
I'll start off with this one. I have Coastal winning this one. I just think their pitching is a lot. The pitching is just those 3 guys, and you got Carbone. I think you'll see Carbone in more than 1 game for sure. I also think their offense is clicking at the right time. I know Bodine didn't have an amazing weekend, but then again, he's still an All-American catcher. Thorndike has been outstanding, as well as Alexander's been outstanding out there in the outfield as well. So I have the Chanticleers going to Omaha for the first time since they won the national title in 2016.
Yeah, I've got Coastal getting it done this weekend too. I think this will go to 3. I think they're going to be 3 really competitive games. But Coastal's pitching has been sensational all season long, like Kason touched on. The offense has did the job too. I thought this past weekend was some of the best I've seen them hit the ball all season, especially that game Saturday. But I mean, it's going to be tough for them to go down there in Auburn and get it done. That'll be a rocking atmosphere, but I think they'll do it.
Yeah, I picked Auburn, but not for any baseball reasons, because I've picked against Coastal a lot this year, and every time they've proved me wrong, and I've gotten it wrong. So I'm picking Auburn again for Coastal. Want to keep it consistent. Want Coastal to prove me wrong again, and I think Coastal fans should be happy I'm picking against them once again, because every time I do, Coastal always wins. So that's why I'm picking Auburn. All right, next one we got Tennessee at Arkansas.
I'm gonna take Arkansas on this one. I think Arkansas is just a better team. It's down there in Arkansas. They are called the Omahogs, even though they don't go to Omaha that often. But I'll call them the Omahogs. They call themselves that. But I think Arkansas, that place is gonna be absolutely rocking. Very, 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 very hard to win there. So give me the Hogs.
Yeah, I agree. I've got Arkansas. Very hard to beat down in Fayetteville. I think it's going to be pretty chippy down there. Would not surprise me at all if the bench is clear. One of those games this weekend. Both those teams hate each other. I mean, that first game is going to be awesome. I touched on it earlier. Liam Doyle versus Zach Root should be electric.
Yeah, I also went with Arkansas, just because Tennessee can't win a road series at Arkansas. They haven't done it since 2001. I mentioned it earlier. I think that's a real thing. Hard to win down there. Next one we got West Virginia at LSU.
I'll go with West Virginia. I'm going to go with the upset. I think the West Virginia team is red hot. I think LSU got tested a little bit. I kind of do want to go LSU, though, because they did kind of get a wake-up call on Monday of, hey, like, we're not invincible, which I'm not saying they're the best LSU team ever, but I think that this will be a wake-up call for them. But then again, I am riding the boys from Morgantown to get it done.
Yeah, I'm going to go with LSU. I think West Virginia will push them. I just think LSU has the better pitching staff. But, both of those fan bases are awesome. Should be a great atmosphere down there. If they can get Jones going at the plate, he had a rough weekend. I think that will be the key. But I'm going to go with LSU getting back to Omaha.
Yeah, I think this one will go 3 games. I think LSU will take it, though. West Virginia could go into both Death Valleys and win both. Obviously, going down to Clemson, win Clemson Regional, and they go down to LSU when maybe they just own Death Valley. But interesting. I'm going with LSU, though. Next one, we got Murray State at Duke.
Yeah, and as I see, I have the sheet pulled up. I'm the only one going against the grain here. I do have Murray State winning this one. I think their offense is red. I think offense is red hot. And me personally, I don't think Duke being at home is a massive advantage. I think if Murray State can go down there and win in Ole Miss, they can go down to Jack Coombs and win there. I have Murray State winning this one.
I've got Duke. It's been a great run for Murray State. I think Duke's pitching is a little better than Ole Miss. But if Miller's out, that might change my thought a little bit. But I think this Duke offense, they've been swinging the bat really well here the last month or so. I think their pitching, though, can control this great Murray State offense a little bit this weekend.
Yeah, same thought process. I think Duke's pitching will get it done this weekend. It would be a massive blow if Miller isn't playing this weekend and Gracia's out game 1. That'd be a disaster. But I still think they would get it done. Hopefully the Gracia appeal goes through and he'll be good to go on Saturday for game 1, but we'll see. I think Duke's pitching will just kind of bring down the Murray State bats that are on fire from Oxford last weekend. Our last Super Regional, UTSA at UCLA.
UCLA won this one. They proved me wrong last week, but also so did UTSA. Watched UTSA this year, pretty close. They have really good top-end guys, but I doubted their depth versus Texas, and they went ahead and got it done. So this one's my closest one for sure. I want UTSA to get it for the sport. I think it'd be good for the sport, but at the same time, I think UCLA is very, very talented, and I have UCLA taking this one.
I've got UTSA. I think they're just going to carry their momentum over from last week. Look at Mason Lytle, James Tussick. They've been sensational all year at the plate. Their pitching staff, I mean, it's not the greatest, but I mean, it's gotten the job done for them all season. It's going to be tough. I mean, I think both keep an eye on both those games being in the afternoon. I think that'll let the long ball. Long ball will be in action in those afternoon games, usually at night on the West Coast games. Keeps the ball in the park, but I think UTSA will get it done in 3 games.
Yeah, this was the toughest one to pick out of all of them for me. I really like both these teams, but I gave UCLA the little nod at the end for just hosting, and I think they'll get it done in front of their home fans in 3 games. It's going to be a tight one, but I can see this one going either way.
Yeah, no question about it. Reed, this time, any last comments, sir?
No, I'm just looking forward to this weekend. Shaping up to be another excellent weekend of baseball. Expect a lot of fireworks. Who knows what to expect after what we saw last weekend? So I'm thrilled. I'll be in Chapel Hill on Saturday, and then we'll see. Possibly, I might be going to Durham on Sunday.
Okay, Colby.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Be checking scores at work tomorrow occasionally, and plan to watch the night games tomorrow, and then full day Saturday will be fun with the 4 that start tomorrow, going into game 2 on Saturday, with the other 4 that start in the Supers game 1. Be action-packed day on Saturday.
That is correct. Looking forward to it, boys. Folks, we will see you after Supers for our Omaha preview. Thank you, folks, and good night.